Yeah, guys, how's it? How's it? Lifetime, baby. Cool, man. Fantasy football game week 2 about to start. Game week 1 review. A little bit of a review of game week 1. Um, yeah. I I'm gonna talk a little bit about game week 1. Just overall. I mean the points are good. I picked up 72 points. 2.3 million. Um, yeah, nothing you can read too much into the first game week. But yeah, just a couple of things that went well, didn't go well. A couple of things that last minute changes that I did. And yeah, I just want to see if I'm still sticking to my plan. That's kind of the main thing, and I want to kind of look at. So last minute source transfer on game week before game week 1 started was the low. It was Walker to the low. It was just like a lot of things happening in City's team. I didn't know if City was actually going to start um, Walker. I mean, they did a lot of these weird changes. Diaz wasn't playing, Stones wasn't playing, Lewis played. So I just felt there's just a bit too much uncertainty in that back line for City, and I brought in the low last minute. Everyone else is pretty much the same. Romero came on, or I started him. That was my intention. He scored a goal and then left. That worked out. Or at least it worked out well for his goal there. But yeah, he left early. So, I mean, I would have had no returns there had he not actually scored something. Um, and then finally, Chilwell came in. Yeah, so Chilwell, yeah, I mean, luckily the loan never came on for like a cameo appearance or anything like that. So luckily Chilwell came off the bench and had sort of pushed my points up to 72. And yeah, I mean, I went for Steele. I think it was I mean, there was just choice between Steele and Van Bregen. Luckily, I went for Steele. He did actually play. I don't think Van Bregen is going to play, albeit De Zerbi said that there's going to be rotation between the two. I think it's going to happen. I think what's going to happen is when he meant rotation between the two, I think what he means is like one is going to play cup games and one is going to play in the Premier League. And I think Steele is going to stay in the Premier League. The good news though is Areola played. So even if there is a rotation risk with Steele, I do have Areola. It can come. There's a couple of guys who are a lot more smart out there that brought in Turner for 4 points because of the potential of him, of what's name not coming in, Henderson not coming into to to Forest, and that was a good call. So kudos to those guys. And Turner is playing against Sheffield Knicks, so excellent call from them. But just overall, obviously, I went for a more risky team. There was a lot of oranges in my team. Steele was an orange. Luckily, he played. Delo was an orange, and he did end up not playing. Foden was an orange. Why I promoted him personally to a light green. So there was a chance that that wasn't going to happen. And Darwin was always going to be an orange. So I have so many oranges. 1, 2, 3 potential oranges that was always one of them was going to be what I represented them as an orange. So there was always going to be a risk with one of them. So the low came out. So the plan was that we roll the transfer for game week 2. This was the plan way back when. I think it's going to load now. Roll the transfer for game week 2. But obviously the low one brought in the last minute one. So I thought, okay, cool, that's fine. Even if we roll the transfer for game week 2, we've got the low that can maybe put up a fight against Tottenham. We don't have a good record there away from home, especially last season. We drew 2-2 there, but it's something that are worth taking the risk. We do have a good defensive record. And then obviously we carry that on to Forest. We rolled the transfer. We got 2 transfers in Forest. And the plan here was to swap out Mitoma for 4.5 and bring in Nkuku for Mbuma. Okay, so we play with 3 up front. And then from there, so let me just do that quickly. Nkuku. So this was the plan. Boom, boom. Mitoma comes out, and boom, Boom. Baptiste comes in as a 4 pointer. Okay, so that was the plan, and I still got 0.6 in the bank, give or take. Right. So what happened to him? Oh, he went down in price. That's why. That's why I got an extra point. So anyway, that was the plan, and then that'll place me up against Luton. I've got Darwin. That's maybe a question mark Newcastle, but these big games tend to always return goals. So I was expecting something there, and then we set up pretty good against where's what's the name now? We set up pretty well against why is this not updating? Okay, here we go. Then we ended up sitting pretty well against this team. So we just take him out here. I don't know why this guy's here. Let's bring in Darwin. This was going to be the setup, I guess. So that was going to be the setup for game week 4, which has that risk because you end up having a lot of Arsenal versus United players. But again, I always take these head to head games as a high scoring game. So I didn't think that this was going to be too bad. So this was the plan, and you can see obviously the low supposed to be a walker, and that bringing in the low was probably a crazy bad call that I made, but I did it anyway. And yeah, I've got that situation now where I've got the low here now in game week 4, and he's playing up against Arsenal. I can obviously I've still got Romero in the team, so that could be something that could happen. I feel either Saliba or the low will be suspect to goal. So yeah, the low transfer kind of just last minute transfer. I thought I'll get in a differential as well. I expected United to get a clean sheet. I thought the low has a bit more attacking potential than Wan Bissaka, and honestly, I didn't think Wan Bissaka was going to start. So that kind of buggered up my plans. But considering that I've got the low, and I think he probably won't start again, I got a feeling that he might just be do a cameo appearance. My transfer plan that I've already executed was to take out the low and bring in James. That is my current transfer plan. Now, luckily, I started my season with 1.5 in the bank, and it was primarily there to help me for any, help me along in any, you know, sort of these types of situations, where players develop or evolve to be the favorites as time goes on. I was planning to roll the transfer initially, but yeah, the Delo thing kind of caught me out. But I think it's a good move because what ends up happening now is the first thing is the transfer against the transfer in game week 3, okay, for Baptist and Kunku. And now, considering Kunku's out in any case, that transfer, you could probably say it's Jackson now. But the plan there, one backed out was, okay, and then Baptist comes out for the Matoma. So the nice thing about the fact that I don't need to make that transfer yet is because Mitoma's actually got a decent fixture. So the transfer that I could do with James coming in, it's actually not too bad, all considering, because yeah, I've still got enough coverage. And even if if I'm not happy with Darwin, because that's the big question mark coming into game week 3, well, coming into game week 2, Darwin's playing against Bournemouth. I don't know if he's going to start again, but if Darwin doesn't start again, coming into game week 3, Darwin's price is going to start to drop. So I'm going to have to make a plan for him. But even if Darwin does start or does come on and score a goal and might entice me to keep him still, I can always just bring on Romero to have cover. Um, better potential points cover, because Romero, they do play Bournemouth away, and Bournemouth's got some goal potential. But ideally, I think I would take, if Darwin, especially if Darwin doesn't start, I'll choose Romero over Darwin. Considering their fixtures. So I do have cover there, and worst case scenario, okay, I've got a free transfer there. Worst case scenario, if Darwin really doesn't do well, because I don't want to lose points on players valuation dropping. Worst case scenario, I can take Darwin in and bring in Chelsea striker Jackson. So I could do something like that, and then I can still keep Omeda on the bench, and I've got an extra Chelsea option against what's name, which is kind of a waste of a transfer of Darwin. And that's the problem with my oranges, man. Like that they were just they were risks. They were oranges. That's why they're oranges, because they potentially not going to start. They they were going to be differentials. But that's a risk I took. That's a risk I took there. And yeah, the oranges tend seems like they're going to eat into my transfer plans or into my transfers for the first couple of weeks. But again, like I said, I've got the cash to be able to protect myself, and I do have more data to be able to work with. So options for me, options. So I'm not overly stressed. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about with James is um, the thing is, not a lot of people's going to be doing James. Now, I think James' ownership is quite respectful in any case. If I look at James, I think he's probably sitting on a high ownership. I won't be surprised. He's quite a popular player. He's quite a popular player. He's sitting on 18.6%. I mean, he's a popular player. But from a lot of the template teams I've seen, a lot of people don't have James inside of the team. So so in terms of fighting against the template, I got a feeling that I actually now got advantage because I actually have to make a decision. I have to make a decision here when it comes to the low. So that's kind of, and sometimes that can be, sometimes that can just make your life a little bit more simpler. If I did have the template midfield, which is pretty much Martinelli and so forth, and I wanted to try and optimize, I'm going to have to make decisions on Rashford and Bruno. And yeah, I don't know what that decision is going to be, because Rashford and Bruno, it could have just been that they had a dud against Wolves. And if you want to roll the transfer, they could possibly do that. But then what's your decision going to be in game week 3 when Rashford and Bruno is playing against Forest? What you going to do there? So being forced in this decision, I think it helps me a lot. Another thing that I think a lot of people are not thinking about James, and I think it could help me. The other thing that I think people are not thinking about, or that I've heard people start to think about, or it was definitely in my thinking, was that I do have this risky 4.5 goalkeeper who I've said initially was orange, but I think is going to be a green. I've got this 4.5 goalkeeper that I was looking at changing. Onana's good. He's a good option, but he's 5 points. Not a big 5-pointer fan when it comes to goalkeepers. And I also think that I've got more data now with Man United to know, should I go for Shaw? Should I go for Martinez? Should I go for Varane? Should I go for Wan-Bissaka? So I can cover defensively there as time goes on. But Sanchez is an option for a lot of people in the replacement as a 4.5 goalkeeper, and that's quite cool. But but yeah, now but I think that I'm not gonna. My plan, obviously, in Game Week 3 was to get Nkunku, so I can maximize what I feel would be options against Luton from a points potential, attacking potential wise. But I think with James in there, I think I've got some cover now for that game. So my Game Week 2 team looks like we're looking at now. Darwin up there, fingers crossed. I think his ownership is slightly dropping. It was 14%, but I think people are holding slowly on to Darwin. And then the Chelsea guys are challenged, obviously, but I think they're playing at home, and I think there's going to be something to talk about, especially in those big games. Concern with the United guys now, considering that first fixture was so underwhelming. Mitoma looked good for me. I know João Pedro probably is a better pick. I went for the decision for going Mitoma, but Mitoma did look good. The Brentford guys look good as well. And I think the Brentford guys would probably have be a better option there. That's against the template now, and that we're talking about Mbuma now. Saka, Saliba. Maybe I've got Saliba because of the Gabriel problems. And now I've got these two Chelsea defenders who've got very good attacking potential. So that's quite nice. Just regarding James quickly, um, what makes him so nice is that I took a look at the top, X assists. Madison's topping that list. Excellent stuff. But if you go to the Chelsea team, you wouldn't have thought that that the highest person with the XA would be James right now, just based because I think this is based on the data from the start of the season. So he's actually quite high up there. So I've got the highest potential assister from Chelsea in my team. And then the highest potential, well, not the highest potential, but one of the highest potential attacking, goal scoring threats, which is actually not that high because it's 0.11, but it's Chilwell. So, but on top of that, albeit his XG is 11, if you look at his threat, he's the highest threat. So his threat is actually what he's actually done to look threatening in the games. He's actually got one of the highest threat in that Chelsea team. Enzo was high creativity and James is shortly after. So I feel I got good Chelsea assets in my team, even stats wise, other than just the eye test. Then another thing that's interesting, what I started to do is I built a stats collector that's basically got various different data pulling down from the same source that you see over here. I think this is available on their website. I'm doing something that sort of just scrapes and periodically pulls information down from their site. And what I was able to do is take a look at the changes of stats over time. I think I do 10-minute increments to see how often the data is being brought down. And what I've got together, there's still a bit more graphs I want to pull up. But what I got together is these sort of charts on which players are being brought on or like leaving teams and bringing in by teams based on the total number of transfers or based on the percentage of transfers, right? And one of the things that I'm going to, I've been doing this already, but like the data that this brings just gives me an indication of who's going in what direction. And since last 2 days, for example, Ben Chilwell's been one of the biggest transfers. I mean, that's like 200,000 people brought him in. Saka, same story. Isak, same story. And the Isak especially I mean, I think that's just the bandwagon based on that 4 points. But these four guys all increased in points already in their transfer fee. So if you go down to the site, take a look at price rise this round. All players and Saka's there, Chilwell's there, Rodrigo and Isak. Stupinian and Saliba, they never actually flagged in my top transfers in. They are here, I think. Saliba's in here as the probably about ninth or so. But someone like a Stupinian is not in here. So I find it very strange. In terms of the percentage increase, in terms of how much they increased from the previous percentage 2 days ago up until now, in terms of the ownership, the SARS is up there. He's probably not going to increase in points because there's not that much transfers in there. But in terms of his percentage ownage up until now, he's on top. Rafael Varane's growing, Wan-Bissaka's growing. So, I mean, I think what this does for me is just gives me an indication as to, what are people looking at, low-key in terms of numbers and low-key in terms of percentage. And then I've got the opposite here as well, who's dropping the most. Percentage in the drops doesn't sort of help much. But if the guy appears twice in these two tables here, you can almost expect a price decrease. Kevin De Bruyne, massive 300 something thousand. And I'm quite keen to see if he was in that price fall category. He's there. So he's dropped. Timber's dropped 20. And I think Timber's also in this. He's in both lists as well. There's Timber there. And there's Timber there. Stones. Wait. Tyron Mings, I think, probably would have also didn't drop yet. It's very strange. It's already in the 100,000s. I would expect Mings to be there very soon. Gabriel's in the 80,000s. So don't expect Gabriel to drop anytime soon, but big chance. But see, his percentage drop hasn't come back. So anyway, so I've got this one over here that's giving me that information for the market movement. I've also then got like just the ownership ticker. So I've Rodrigo's in there. And just looking at my assets, I just want to bring a view that brings in my assets. You look at someone like Darwin's been on a steady decline over the past 2 days. Been on a steady drop, and now, I'm just hoping, from 13%, I think it was actually on 14%. So there's a steady incline, and then he's dropped steeply from 14% all the way until. So I'm just hoping that the people who do own Darwin. Okay, so put it this way: if Darwin doesn't start the season against Bournemouth, if Darwin doesn't do bits against Bournemouth, his price will be dropping after that. So that's what I'm scared of. So this is the last game week for Darwin, and that's why I'm probably going to move very, very, very soon to bring in Jackson. So Darwin is on the radar for price dropper. I'm just kind of keeping my eye on all my assets and just making sure that I don't lose anything, because of these ducks. The low is also on a steady decline, 2.12. It's not a massive number. Foden, I think he's probably flat. Yeah, upsy downsy. I think there's a lot of people that didn't expect him to actually play, so that's why his overall percentage is probably quite low. He never had returns, so some of them probably let him go with those wild card bounces, but it's not by much. So, yeah, in terms of my team, not a bad place that I'm at. Um, yeah, I'm gonna do a bit more things with my graphs here. Actually, I want to have this view defaulted to all my players, so I can keep a track as to what the ownership is over time. And then I also want to bring in these XGs. These stats over here are quite helpful for me, because one of the problems with these stats is like the XG, the creativity, the threat, those kind of things. They just give you an overall of the season, and sometimes I don't want to see that. I want to see what the change of that has been over time. Game week to game week to game week, because it's pointless for me to look at what some of the XG is now for like 5 games, and he hasn't played 3 of those 5 games. So yeah, I want to start doing some daily snaps of this as well, and just see what the XG change is over time. And guys who's got potential last 5 games, last 4 games, best XG, there might be somebody who can flag on my transfer list. But anyway, guys, that's the plans. Looking forward to game week 2. I've made my transfer ready. I can chill. Just gotta hope there's no injuries. The money leagues. The money leagues, eh? Fourth in my cousin's money league. Again, I'm not too fearful of this league. I won this league last season. Yeah, nothing to worry. I mean, look at this guy, Isak Saka, captain. So, couple of Mavericks in here. Not overly concerned. The other money league, Works Money League, into the top 10. Couple of good challenges here, I must say. A couple of guys that is going to give me a run for my money here. So it's going to be fun. And then bragging rights leagues, United Army only. A couple of guys we're chatting with there in the Pace League. Steady 12th place in all. And no Mavericks here. There's a Maverick here and there, But yeah, generally template players. So going to be tough to try and break past these guys. And likewise in the Pace League also, no real Mavericks here. 1 or 2 maybe. But generally steady AD players. So going to be difficult to break the templates here and try and get ahead of these guys. But we go, man. We go. Gonna enjoy the season. Decent start. Got to fight away my oranges. Got to fight my oranges away, but I think of some of the guided decisions I'm forced to make is actually going to be helpful. And hopefully somebody like Darwin Darwin does the bits next season, next game week. Hopefully, he does the bits next game week. It's a home against Bournemouth. There's a good chance that that might be an issue. And yeah, differentials like Foden and now James. I think in terms of template differentials, I think he can do the bits for me. So yeah, we go. We see how it goes. Thanks for watching the stream, guys. Appreciate it, man. Cheers.